What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Me and Chris are back. A little bit of a different video today. We're going to be talking about keep, trade, cut. We're going to be looking at the 5 most traded players right now, according to Dynasty Daddy. And we're going to talk about, would we be moving them? Would we not be moving them? Are we going to be kind of, keeping them because their value is not there? We're going to be looking at real Dynasty trades. And we're going to be talking about some rapid fire guys, some of Christian's favorites on the cut list. We're going to be kind of going over them. But let's start with number 1, T. Higgins. What are we doing with T. Higgins right now on Keep Trade Cut? He's wide receiver 23. In our rankings, he's wide receiver 20. Last year, obviously, was a little banged up. I feel like we could say that multiple times for T. Higgins. A little banged up, just not there. Hasn't broken out yet. I feel like we've been doing that for a while. But as you can tell where his value's at, it's pretty low. It's not the lowest it's been this summer, but it's pretty close. We're looking at Dynasty trades, 12-team Superflex tied in premium. T. Higgins for Jaden Reed in a second. Higgins for Kyron Williams straight up. And then Higgins for Pickens and Russell Wilson in a Superflex league. What are you do? Are you keeping him? Are you trading? Are you cutting T. Higgins? And then based on these deals, where are you moving at, Christian?
I think I'm trading him right now because so there are 2 outcomes that we've been talking about for like 2 years. Either he gets traded and becomes the wide receiver 1 for someone, but when you look at the options for that across the league, there's not a whole lot of lucrative spots. I think maybe your best bet is New England at this point with Drake May, or they decide to actually extend him and pay him and they keep him and Chase together, which I think is what Joe Burrow wants. And then he's always going to have suppressed value. And so we have him up at wide receiver 20. I have him down at wide receiver 25. I'd be pretty comfortable trading him. I think really all 3 of these deals, and I'm not a big George Pickens guy. I'm becoming more of a George Pickens guy as I look at the numbers and I project for 2024. I would take all 3 of these deals and I'd be kind of comfortable with it. The one that I'm a little hesitant on, I think Jaden Reed in a first is a better value. So I might hesitate there, but overall, I'd flip T for all of these packages here.
Yeah, I'm flipping him just in that he's in that kind of range of wide receivers, 16 to 24, where if I can get anything back with those guys, I'm cool with kind of trading him for them. I love the George Pickens deal. If I can get George Pickens and something else added to that, I definitely want to go there. Get a little younger with George Pickens. Upside, he is the wide receiver 1. We don't have to worry about a trade. He's their guy, and moving forward. And I do think Arthur, when you're looking at Arthur Smith and everything that he's been able to do as an offensive coordinator, it's okay. Like I don't necessarily think he's been that bad, especially what they're trying to do, that play action. You wrote about it. I've written about it with George Pickens as well. The play action, heavy play action, deep threats, everything fits for him. And I know that in the news recently for Pickens, how they're going to move him around and all that, and people are making fun of that. He can do that. At Georgia, he was able to do that. People didn't see it because he was injured, but that's actually a positive thing, not a negative thing in my mind. So if I can get George Pickens for T. Higgins and an asset plus, I'm definitely moving on there. Now, next guy, we're talking about this guy for I don't know how long, JSN. So he's in that same tier of wide receivers. At wide receiver 24, he's a little back there from T. Higgins. Wide receiver 21 for us. We liked him, but again, didn't perform that many. Some thought he did. I think we both realized this was probably going to be that next year for him. But again, Tyler Lockett's back, right? So 93 targets last year, 63 receptions, over 600 yards and 4 touchdowns. However, new offensive coordinator coming over there from Washington. We're going to see those 3 wide receiver sets. So we should see more production next year. But Lockett's still there. We're going to still three wide receiver sets, though, so it's a little bit different. What he's going for right now, JSN in a third for Josh Jacobs, JSN in a second, and a third for Jalen Waddle, and then JSN straight up for Jordan Addison. And that just feels like we're just going to wing it trade. We're going to see which side we like there based on where they're at in terms of rankings. But where are you at with JSN?
I'm keeping him. I'm keeping JSN. I have him projected as the wide receiver 16 this year. I think that he is the number 1 wide receiver for this offense. We talked about Shane Waldron had a good offense, but I also think that there were times where it was like he didn't really know what to do with the 3rd wide receiver in the offense. So when you watch the games, Jackson Smith-Njigba was a major part of the script. And then after the script, he kind of fell off quite a bit throughout the year. I think this year, when you look at what the slot receiver does in this new offense, I think Jackson Smith-Njigba is set up really nicely to be the primary target in this offense. And I think when you look at what DK Metcalf does, what Tyler Lockett does, they're doing good things. But to me, Metcalf was just as inconsistent last year, I think. To me, you're looking at Lockett aging. I think right now is the perfect time to hold Jackson Smith and Jigba or target him. I think when you look at some of these deals here, I wouldn't mind flipping those assets for Jackson Smith and Jigba and what I'm getting back, and especially the Jordan Addison one. That one doesn't make any sense to me. I'll take Jackson Smith and Jigba straight up all day.
Yeah, if I can move off Addison for JSN, I definitely do that. Plus getting something back, possibly based on where they're at. But yeah, straight up, I like that. And Ryan Grubb being out there in Washington, or excuse me, Seattle. Well, technically Washington. He's out there now,
right.
and he's that offensive coordinator. And what he's been able to do in that offense and those 3 wide receiver sets makes me want to hold JSN. And if I can, I will go buy JSN. I'm still on the buy train, and I think his value is still there. And I think that when you're looking at it, he can definitely become at least that wide receiver 2 option this year. And then moving forward next year, maybe possibly their wide receiver 1 in a prolific offense. We're talking number 1 rated offense last year in college football that saw Polk and all of these guys, McMillan, all these, and Radunze. Now everybody's talking about these guys. They love them. Well, guess who the offensive coordinator was? It was Ryan Grubb, and who's there with that with JSN. So that's exactly what you should want there. So I'm definitely keeping him. Next guy, Geno Smith. All right, we're going to talk about Geno, and I laugh because I've been a Geno hater his entire career. But right now at QB 30 is one of the lowest he's kind of been in terms of that ranking. I think that has a little bit to do with the Sam Howell move and in the contract extension, everything there. We have McQB 28 in our consensus. Some deals out there for him. Geno for Michael Mayer. Geno for Josh Downs in a second. Geno and James Conner for Bo Nix in a second. So definitely value has shifted down in terms of this. But we love JSN, and it's like, if we like this offense, we like JSN, DK, Tyler being there. I mean, Geno's the guy kind of stepping into this, and at QB 30, that feels like a value to me.
It feels like a value, but then I look at these trades and like Geno Smith for Michael Mayer is a crazy deal to me. Yeah. I'm keeping Geno in that way, especially. This is a recent trade. This is after they drafted.
Yeah, no, this is like this is literally last week. All these trades have happened within the last week.
Well, that person's crazy. But when you look at the other 2 deals, like if I can get way younger at the quarterback position and it's kind of a similar tier to what Geno is, flip James Conner for a 2025 second, like I would be willing to trade Geno Smith. But at face value, when you're just looking at his value, I think I'd rather hold or even acquire Geno Smith if these trades don't really represent the actual market. Now, Josh Downs on 2025 second, I want that side over Geno Smith because I'm still super in on Josh Downs and that Indianapolis offense. And then you're also getting a second back. So to me, that's like Geno Smith in 2 seconds, for 2 seconds. I'm into that deal, but man, at like you said, at QB 30, it's a value. And so this one's kind of tough for me.
I probably hold. I'm not a huge fan, but if he comes out those first couple like games or 3 or 4 games and it's prolific again, and you see that upside there, they have everything. They have a very good offensive line that they've rebuilt. They have their weapons on the outside. Really, it comes down to Geno. He really just needs to manage it, right? And then we've seen he's only 33. We're talking maybe he could be that 2-year guy. He gets that deal, maybe another 2-year deal or whatever. And the way that deals are going out there for quarterbacks, maybe it's a value. And they're like, hey, Geno can make it to the playoffs. It is risky. But if I can maybe go to Bo Nix, or if maybe I can get to Bryce Young somehow with Geno and you get added there, I don't mind doing it. So that's why I would trade him. If I can tier up maybe into that Bryce Young, Will Levis, maybe Baker Mayfield tier, I'm okay with that. But if I can't, if I'm stuck at like Justin Fields, Daniel Jones, Aaron Rodgers area, I'm probably going to hold and hope that he has that good kind of year-ish, or maybe those first 6 weeks, 7 weeks, and then you can kind of ship him off there. Now, next guy we're going to talk about, Jordan Addison. So other guys going to this range, these guys are getting traded everywhere. These wide receivers, it's really pick your poison here. He's at wide receiver 26, so the lowest of the guys that we've talked about so far. Wide receiver 24 for us, 108 targets last year, 70 catches, 911 yards, and 10 touchdowns. Here's his deal. Jordan Addison for Ladd McConkey, which I am so interested in that deal for you to hear what you say there. Addison for Rasheed in a second, and then Addison in a first for A.J. Brown. To me, I'm going to start. I'm trading him for every single one of those deals that I found there, and I'm okay with that. And I think that he is the biggest trade. And me personally, I actually traded Addison and probably a mid-second that wasn't mine for Devonta Smith today. I did that in a Dynasty league I'm in. And so if I can tier up to get to that, especially that Rashee Rice deal, I'm all aboard that.
Yep. I'm with you. I think Addison's value is propped up by the fact that Justin Jefferson missed time last year, and it feels like people have forgotten that. Because when Justin Jefferson's out there, we know what this offense looks like, and you have to look at the quarterback downgrade here and say, okay, maybe Kirk Cousins could have supplemented or
Mhm.
supported 3 targets with TJ Hawkinson included. Now you factor in Aaron Jones in the passing game. Ty Chandler is said to be a bigger factor in this attack as well. So to me, Addison could very easily be the number 3 target getter on an offense that I like JJ McCarthy for sure, but I don't think he's
Mhm.
going to be putting up Kirk Cousins level production for a while here. 2 years, maybe 3 years. And so if I can just re-roll and kind of with like the Lad McConkey one, that's an interesting
Mhm.
one to me. But the other deals are just smash
Yeah.
on that side. I mean, Rasheed, it's a little risky. I understand, and we still have a lack of clarity with the whole legal situation. But if he hits and if he's on the field, I think that we're looking at some really good upside being tied to Patrick
Yes.
Mahomes. So yeah, give me really all these trades here for
And
Addison.
and for context too, for the Rasheed deal, he's a wide receiver 34 right now on keep trade cut. He wouldn't be wide receiver 34 for me, but if I can get an asset back for Rasheed and get that off ramp anyway, let's say Rasheed does mess up out there, and again, right, which I don't think he will, but if he does, and you kind of lose that asset, at least you get a second back, which is probably what
Mhm.
Addison is worth in my opinion anyway. In probably a deep wide receiver class next year if you go watch our 2025 videos. So there is, context wise, I'm cool rolling the dice as long as I have that off ramp for that second. Okay, I still got the second. Okay,
Right.
Rice, you're an idiot. Damn it. Okay, but I still got that second that I can move on. Now, last guy here in terms before we go rapid fire, Zamir White, which you absolutely hate Zamir White based on our conversations in the Discord here on your projections, but he's across the board. Running back 21 and keep trade cut, 27 for us. Really kind of weird value, right? Because last year we saw he only had 451 yards and a touchdown, but those weeks, 15 through 18, averaged 23 touches, over 100 yards, was running back 12 points per game. So he saw kind of low end running back one numbers in fantasy. That's what people are remembering. They didn't touch really anybody outside of Madison and free agency or the draft. So they really have White coming there. And he's going for Chris Godwin, him and Pat Fryermuth for a first, and then Zamir White for Aaron Jones, which I think is an interesting deal too. I know your affection for Aaron Jones, but where are you leaning with White? Are you keeping him, trading him, cutting him? Where you at?
Hate saying this because Zamir White was a top 5 back for me in his class, and I really
Mm-hmm.
like what he does when he's on the football field. Unfortunately, he's tied to this Vegas offense that I don't have a ton of faith in as of right now. I mean,
Yeah.
we've got Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell leading this offensive attack. I don't think there's going to be a large upside for touchdowns. I kind of think that this is going to be one of those offenses that we're hoping they score 20 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't see it. And so I have to say that I'm going to trade Zamir White, even though I believe in the talent and I want to be wrong. I think Alexander Madison will factor into this offense a little bit more than people want him to. Amir Abdullah is still there. They drafted Dylan Laube. I think that they want him to be a factor in the passing game. And so if there's no touchdowns and there's no receiving work, Zamir White is one of those like backs that you can probably plug him in, get 8 to 10 points a week, and you're comfortable with that. But I will make all of these trades. I'll take Aaron Jones over Zamir White right now. I think there's more upside there. If I can get a first for Zamir White and Pat Fryermuth, I'm all in on that. And then the Godwin one's kind of interesting because
Yeah.
I might take the risk on Zamir if I need a running back more. But Godwin overall is the better asset in my opinion. So
Yeah, Godwin's tough because I think I'd rather maybe go get Joe Mixon with Godwin or someone in that other tier range where I can maybe get up Derrick Henry plus something. If I got to add something to Godwin's side to go get Derrick Henry, I might want to do that if I needed a running back. I'm with you there. I trade Zamir White, and this is one of those things where we fall in that trap of chasing volume. Like, oh, he's gonna have the volume, but maybe the volume it's not there, right? Maybe it's volume, but we assumed it's just going to go to him based on his last 3 or 4 games. But remember, they were riding that thing out. That team was a mess, and they were kind of riding it out there. And I do think Madison, those guys, Lobby's going to kind of roll there. If I can trade him for these, I'm definitely getting rid of Zamir White because to me, he's just a drive the car off the lot asset that's going to lose value, and he's really going to lose value there. And there's plenty of other running backs to kind of take the upside there. Now, I knew we weren't probably going to be cutting any of those guys, so I had to get a cut list. We got to talk about some what they call roster cloggers. I know Ryan McDowell from DLF just wrote an article, so I took a few of his. But we're gonna go through these really fast. It's just you though. You're gonna tell me if are you cutting this guy, or are you holding on to him one last ride? That's really what this is, because the other ones you're not trade. You probably can't get trade value for these guys. So what are you doing with Tank Bigsby, your guy?
I'm holding him. I'm
All right.
holding him. There's been enough. I know this is a rapid fire, but there's been enough buzz, man. I think he's gonna factor in this year.
All right. All right. Well, we're holding strong there. Izzy, are you Izzy or Abanikanda? Are you cutting him?
I think so, unfortunately.
I think he's getting cut. So that's the other option there. You need to kind of watch. Kadarius Tony. Are you going to Tony train?
No, this is
All right.
ridiculous. This guy should be cut from the Chiefs, to be honest.
All right, KJ Osborne.
I'm cutting here too.
Okay.
It doesn't make sense why they added him.
No,
to me.
terrible free agent move there. Greg Dortch.
Cutting him.
Got it. All right, Elijah Moore.
Holding.
Yeah, I knew it. Treylon Burks.
Cutting, unfortunately.
Jeremy Rucker, who is technically fighting for tight end 1 right now, and even though he's tight end 53.
I would hold this one and just see. It's probably a bad hold, and I should probably cut him instead, but I'm going to hold him.
Former 3rd-round pick, fight with Conklin there. I mean, there's an opportunity for him to maybe be that spot there. And then Evan Hull, running back 73.
I am also holding him, and I was not a Hull guy, but there's a lot of opportunity there as the receiving back.
There is definitely opportunity as a receiving back. And that's what you're looking for from a PPR standpoint. So that's our keep trade cut guys that were kind of moving. We looked at kind of the guys that are getting moved a lot out there in your dynasty leagues for you. And then we had some roster guys, some cloggers that you might want to get off your roster here. But hey, holding the tank Bigsby. We're gonna keep seeing how this train goes for Christian as we move through. So appreciate you guys. Hit that like button. Let us know in the comments. Who are you dropping? Who would you keep from this list? Could you get some trade value for these guys? And as always, if you have trades you want us to kind of grade or go over, drop them in the comments. We'll do that as well.